Okay. So again, thank you for coming. I am recording. Hopefully, everything goes okay with it. We have Mike Ruffin here today. There's been some requests about the Pasco Sparks with the wireless sensors and how it kind of works with the Chromebooks, because it is different than from the iPads that we've had in the past. So I am going to turn it over for the first 15-20 minutes to Mr. Ruffin. And this equipment is available to check out. Just let me know whenever you need it, and we can get it to you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Shannon.
Sure.
Well, guys, what I did was I posted the Google Classroom code. So if you could real quick go to Google Classroom, enter this code. Some of you may have already done it because we were at some prior training a few years ago. But there's some teachers that still email me saying, Mike, I'm not in the Google Classroom. But we've created a Google Classroom that shows all the smart sensors that we have. There are some labs that are in there and some how-to videos. And so I wanted to use the first minute or so just to make sure that everyone's able to go into Google Classroom and hit the join and enter this code so you can join the class. I'm just going to show this real quick, and I'll come by and help you. You have to say join class.
What do you? I thought it did say join?
No.
I've only done this before.
Where's that logo?
So if you do it twice,
Plus?
yeah.
That's what I'm, okay, join class.
Join
Gotcha.
class.
You
Yeah.
know you gotta do it.
There you go. And you guys want me to turn the lights off, leave it on? Off. Off? Okay.
I'll turn the
Little-
on.
A little fancy light on.
There you go. So while you're doing that, let me just share that the Pasco sensors can be used with Chromebooks, they can be used with iPads, and now we have the opportunity to use them with your MacBook. So I know I only have about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to try to show you how to use it on all three devices. And I brought a wireless temperature sensor. I also brought a wireless pH sensor. And if you feel kind of scared about using a wireless device, I did bring some regular old AirLink sensors that you can connect directly into the Chromebook. So either way, it's a win-win. Okay? Was everyone able to get into the classroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, just to show you what's here. If you click on the About tab, this takes you to the Pasco website. And so this shows you the sensors that are there. It has some other instructional information that's very helpful. I put a link here that shows all the different sensors that Pasco offers. Now, we don't have every single sensor, but on the Stream tab, I put every sensor that we do have downtown, so that if you see it there, that means that we have it. And then you can check with Shannon, she'll let you know how many is available. Okay, and the very last one is a Google Drive folder. This is where I put resources. It's where we have just things that are going to be very helpful to you. Go ahead and click on the Stream tab.
Could you give us that code one more time?
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Shonda's fault. I apologize.
You are fine.
You know, maybe we should get that too for
Oh,
Mallory.
yeah.
Oh,
Got it. Thank you.
Oh,
Hold
you're
on, one more, we're gonna write it.
I'm good.
You got it?
Yep. We're good, Mike.
welcome.
Yeah.
Excellent. All
I
right.
don't know what I wrote it on.
And so right here on the Stream tab, if you look on the left, we call it topic labels. So each of these topics is a sensor. If you see the sensor here, that means we have it downtown. I try to update these periodically based off what we order. I have not put the wireless ones on here yet. But again, everything we need, just check with Shannon and she'll take care of you on that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is switch gears. Now that you know where all the resources are, I'm going to switch gears and show you how to actually do a lab using the sensors. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this Chromebook, and everyone should have Chromebooks, hopefully at their school. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mirror this device to the screen so you guys can see. And if you're not familiar with how to do that, that's a Google extension called Google Cast for Education.
Cast. Oh,
Where would you log on
Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take over the board. Processing. There we go. Alright, so the first thing your students are going to need to do is to actually download the Spark View app. And the way they go to get that is they click on the search. I already have it here, but if they go to the Chrome Web Store, it says Web Store. And I can email you this information, so I know I'm going kind of fast. But then right here in the search box, they're going to type in Spark View. And I'll just type it in so you can see how it works. Alright, so I type in Spark View. There it is. The first thing I'm going to do is tell students add to Chrome. It's going to add it to their device. Now when they add it, they're going to say, Mr. Ruffin, I don't see it. I don't see, where's the app at? They have to click on this, we call this the little search or the finder. They click it, and then it's going to show up. So I'm actually going to click it, and this is what pops up. Has anyone ever used Smart View before? Okay. The handheld ones? Awesome.
Now, once they add it to their Chromebook, is it always there?
That's right. Once they add it, it will be permanent. And we have added the Google Play Store. This week, you're going to start seeing the Google Play Store added. We're not adding the SparkView app to the Google Play Store because it doesn't fit to the screen. So we have everyone use the Chrome Web Store for now. That's a great question. All right, so you notice now that it's not picking up any sensors. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do this with a wireless sensor. So in order for this to work, and I'm actually going to grab a few here, the Chromebooks are going to need a little USB connector. And it looks something like this. Come here so you guys can see it.
Like a little Fitbit thing?
Yeah, like it looks like a little Bluetooth, little. If this is not plugged into their Chromebook, it will not work. That's the only thing. So Pasco is trying to update their software so that we don't need this anymore, but for now this is a must for it to work. So in my Chromebook, I already have it plugged in on the side. Alright, so this is a student device.
And when you check the sensors out, those will be with them. And you don't need, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you don't need one per student. The different students can connect to the sensor. It'll kick, like we both couldn't be on at the same time, but I could use it, and then you would have to use the little adapter to connect to it. So you don't have to have 30.
That's right.
Because we don't have 30 of each.
Absolutely.
So a class set might be 10.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more thing. If you're forgetting anything, Shannon is recording it, and it will be posted on the CIA website, so that way you can just watch the beginning part of it.
Excellent.
If it works.
Excellent. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question too. If we don't feel as confident, would you be willing to come and facilitate a lesson with us, like as a partner?
You
I
would.
would
If we
love-
scheduled that with you?
I would love to do that, and I've actually gone into some of the schools already, and I've done a whole lesson. I've done a weather lesson with the students, and so anything you'd like me to do, I would love to come in, because I like to show the students it actually works, and it gives that teacher extra support, saying, wow, it works on an iPad, and it works on a Chromebook too. And so, yeah, just let me know,
Okay.
and I'll set that block of time.
But prior to Christmas break.
Yes, prior to Christmas break.
Mr. Ruffin will not be with us after
Oh.
break. So you are stuck with me.
Thank you.
What?
After the video,
Continue.
we can-
Continue.
So,
Pause video.
so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to turn on the sensor, and the way I do it, there's a power button right here. So I just hit the power button, then the light turns on. It just uses that little CR2032 battery, the same one that you use like in your watches. Pretty similar, it's round. Alright, so this sensor is on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this little Bluetooth button, click Bluetooth, and it says that it's looking for the device. There it is. It's located device. So if your students, multiple students are using these, the big thing that's very important is for them to actually look at their number and make sure they sync to the right wireless device. Okay? So if you have kids that may struggle with that, I'd do about say, okay, this table, you go first. All right, now I'm going to this table. Now you go. Now I'm going to this table. You go. So that way you can go. But if you have a class that you trust, you can say, okay, guys, just go ahead and jump in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, for the sake of time, go ahead and click on it. It says connecting to temperature sensor. Great. So our sensor is there. I'm going to click done. And there we go. So right now you can see it's reading the temperature. What I want to do is go ahead and actually click on it so I can collect some quick data. So for me to do that, I'm actually going to click on the graph. All right, and there is the graph. Now it's not collecting any data yet because for me to actually have the graph start, I actually have to hit the play button down here. So I'm going to hit the play button. All right, I'm going to release, and now I'm going to stop it. All right, so I just collected some quick data. It didn't take me a lot of time. I can do this as a model in front of the class. I can do this just to kind of get their feet wet. What I want to do is expand this a little bit. And so to do that, I'm going to hit this little kind of four-corner arrow right there. Hit that. Kind of spreads it out a little bit. Now, I can run a second trial. So now in science investigation, trial 1, trial 2, trial 3. So to do a second and third trial, all I have to do is hit the play button again. So I'm going to hit it again.
Right, so if you're collecting data over a longer period of time, let's say, I don't know, 20 minutes or even 30 minutes, do you have to set something up here and tell it what period of time you're collecting data for?
That's a great question. So if I'm understanding, you're saying that, for example, this one's 2 minutes, and then the next one might be 15 minutes. Do I have to tell it how long to record?
Yeah, because your x-axis is already set up there. It's in minutes, as according to what you just said.
Yeah.
You can
So
It will adjust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me show you how to
If
do
you leave
that.
it longer, it'll adjust.
You
just
It'll
let it
show
go.
you how.
You just let it go.
If you
All right.
let it go, so two ways. If you let it go, it'll automatically do it for you. But another thing you can do is if you know it's going to be a long period of time where it says seconds, I'm going to hit that button and I can adjust it to minutes. Oops. Trying to make it go down. Use my cursor versus my finger. Hours, days.
Okay.
You can run this for a long period of time. That's an excellent question.
Yep.
All right, so what I'm going to do is...
And the wireless sensors, you don't have to worry about them shutting down because the battery that's in them will last.
And they can be submerged in water
Mm-hmm.
too. So you could do it for overnight or the beginning of the day to the end of the day.
All right, so now it says run 1, run 2. This is the same thing as trial 1, trial 2. Suppose the kids are, Mr. Ruffin, there's too much information, I'm getting confused. Well, I'm just going to unclick run 1, or run 2 actually. So now it's only showing that one. So if I want to do a control group versus experimental group, how did they change? Now I'm able to compare 2 sets of data. Okay, so again, this is the temperature probe. This is wireless. Everything you need is here. There's a few extra bells and whistles that you can do here. I'm not going to go into that. The big thing is just make sure everyone's comfortable with doing a lab like this. Okay, I'm going to pause. Yes,
I have a question. I know on the iPad, I'm pretty sure it's on the Chromebook too, but on the iPad, there was an automatic speed sensor that was in it on SparkView, and you didn't have to have a sensor. It would just automatically registered speed and sound. Is it in the? Does it automatically do that on the?
I don't think the.
So we have the iPads. If you wanted to measure speed and sound, you could use our iPads to collect that data because it automatically sets it up. You don't have to have any device. You don't have to. We have this, but these are automatically built in to the iPad that you can do speed and sound. We actually took the temperature and the pH sensors to the beach with Burbank Elementary, and they collected the data using the Chromebooks, the wireless sensors. And then when we were out this summer, I don't know if anybody in here was out with us. We went out to Sandy Bottom and actually measured the sound close to the interstate versus back further in Sandy Bottom, and then did a study about the biodiversity based on the noise levels. So those are automatically in the program. All right, sorry.
No, you're fine. All right, so we just did the temperature sensor. Now I'm going to switch over to the pH sensor. So again, we have a wireless version of the pH sensor. I'm going to bring it over here so everybody can see it. It's two parts. You have, keep it this way. So you have the, you have the potassium chloride, which is in here. So that's what keeps the sensor protected. Here is your wireless portion, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to screw it, and it kind of clicks in place just like that. And then again, see the power button.
Alice, Amanda, what was your question?
So everybody, I'll make sure everybody sees it.
We have them to check out.
Just-
These are brand new.
Just screwed
Cool.
it in.
Okay.
Make sure everybody's okay on that. All right, so this is the pH sensor.
One thing to tell you, please, 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 do not spill the buffer solution. Do not. You will have to make your own if you do.
That's from
Please do
experience.
not. Trust me. It was on her desk. It was not pleasant. Please don't spill it. That's in there. I know accidents will happen, but when you have them unscrew it, just leave it, have them sitting somewhere else. Do not give them the actual buffer solution. They will knock it over. I already had a high school teacher have to remake them, so please don't.
All right. So what I'm going to do is show you how to use the sensor. So we're going to click on the Bluetooth button again, and we're going to look for that. There it is, the pH buffer solution. I'm going to click, excuse me, the pH sensor. And try it again. There we go. Alright. So it's given us this weird pH reading, and it has the voltage. So what I'm going to do is show you how to actually use this. So I'm again going to click on the graph. Alright, and so down here, I'll show you what I did. First thing I'm going to do is calibrate the sensor. And to calibrate it, I hit this little button, looks like tools, little cross tools. I'm going to click that button. And so when I click the button, there's the option to calibrate the sensor. I'm going to click calibrate sensor. And so it says select the sensor, pH, select the measurement, pH, select a calibration type, and so this is 2-point, meaning that I'm going to use 2 different buffer solutions. Okay, I'm going to click continue. So here they have pH a standard 4. You can actually change this based off of whatever you have. Today I have a 4 buffer solution. So what I'm going to do is just pour a little bit in here so you guys can see that. Move this out the way. Alright, and so I'm going to, oops, wrong one. And the sensor is right here. There we go. Alright, so I'm just going to take the sensor and take this portion off here.
Anybody want to try? Anybody want to do Vanna?
And here's another thing, and I'm going to come so everybody can see it. When you pull it, pull the bottom portion off. Some people see this little knob and they feel like they need to unscrew that part. That is not the part to unscrew. Yeah.
And the only one that's temperamental like that is the pH. So
Is that what makes you lose the
See
button?
how it looks
Yes.
deceiving?
it commonly,
Like, I would think to
Students-
unscrew this.
Whoa!
Sure.
students and teachers.
Everybody see that?
We actually had some teachers, and I won't call their names, pour it out because they thought they were supposed to put the water to sample in there.
So
what they were sampling in the little vial.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I'm gonna give this to Shannon because I don't want to get in trouble and
You have
like
to make a buffer.
on
That's not
video.
smart to give it to me.
So who wants to try it?
Oh yeah, anybody want?
Oh,
There we go. There we
Leslie,
go.
thank
Y'all
you.
play your song.
That's cool.
So Mike, can I ask you, how close, I was wondering
thank
how
you.
close you need it to be to the Chromebook to make the measurement with the sensors?
That's a great question. I don't know how close. The range is really large.
Okay.
So if you have a large classroom, we actually did this at Kickotan in Miss Massey's class, and she had students on one end of the room moving around with the sensor.
I could
We
see
did this at the beach, and we were
farther
on one
away
end of the
from
beach
the
and the other end of the
computer might
beach.
be
It still
better.
works.
when you have liquids.
Oh yeah, far away from a computer.
Do I
Yeah,
need to
so I
put a
was
little
like,
more buffer
hoping
solution in
no, it's plenty.
there? That's plenty.
Yeah.
No, they did the
All right,
out there on the beach.
So what are we in?
All right, so what I'm
Fifth
gonna
grade.
do is I'm gonna hit set calibration.
Okay.
All right,
Because
3,
you're still calibrating.
2, 1, set calibration. All right, great. So now I'm gonna go to calibration point 2. And this one says 10. And let's see what I have here. All right, got 4. Oh, here's the 10 right here. All right. So here's one thing, remember, make sure you rinse it off with deionized or distilled water. So I actually brought some of that with me. And so I'm gonna,
What's this?
yes, I'm gonna rinse that off. All right. And does anybody want to rinse it, or you want me to rinse it? Trying to get the full lab experience.
What are we going into?
But you don't need to
We're
do
gonna
this every
switch over
time.
to
This is
10.
just him showing you how to set it up.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
This
Yeah,
is
he
not
already even
something-
tested the pH.
This is not something that you need to do every time. It's just what he's telling you to do when you're setting it up. He's making sure you completely understand all that.
And I'm supposed to be using aseptic technique. Alright. So now we're gonna go over to buffer 10. And put that right over here. This is buffer 10. Do I need to put more in here?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Alright, so this is buffer 10 solution. Alright, give it a few seconds, let it get its bearing. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Alright, set calibration. I'm gonna click OK. Alright, so I'm gonna rinse it off one more time with some water, deionized or distilled water. And some here. The gentle.
Fine.
I think there's a question.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Oh, time. Okay. All right. All right. I know we're running short on time. All right.
Sorry.
No. So here's I brought some Sprite. Y'all love Sprite, and so I'm gonna let you do the honors. And actually, I'm gonna put it flat on the table. All right, and then I'm going to hit the play button to see what happens. It's going down. Give it some time. It takes some time. It's going down. And we would expect that because,
It's an acid.
yep, citric acid, right?
Maybe.
Oh, and it's shooting better.
I feel a sneeze coming on and I got 3 containers.
Oh, let me come grab some.
Like,
I'm used to the 2 that are
The
off to the
flat
side and the one on the bottom.
I don't know if I understand.
She kind
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was
That seems
pretty
pretty,
sure.
Yeah.
Thinking so.
This one looks a little bit scattered. It starts off high and then it goes down low. What happens is if something like this happens, I would just calibrate it a few more times. And once we get it calibrated, then it does get better. That initial one might take a while for the sensor to get calibrated just right. But at least you understand the process of how to do it. We have 4 buffer, 7 buffer, 10 buffer. And you can choose the 2-point versus the 1-point. And again, you can change the units, and again, there's extra bells and whistles here. I know Venicia wants me to pause and close. I just want to say one thing. If you want to do this on your MacBook, if you go to that Google Drive folder, there's a file that lets you download it, and I'll just show you where it is real quick, and then I'm done. And
Yeah, I guess
so
we're gonna toss
in the
them.
Google
Yeah, we don't
Classroom,
want to
if
put
you
them
go
back
to
in
the
there.
About tab,
Take that.
go all the way
Yeah.
down here, click on the Google
Big.
Drive folder.
I mean, I'll get you
And
set up on
then
the Google
if you
Drive.
go where it says Spark View
Class, Google Class.
for Mac, does everybody see that? Spark View for Mac. If you click Spark View for Mac, it has the download file. So first thing you have to do, there's 2 parts to this. First you have to download it. After you download it, you have to install it, and then we think we're finished. But there's actually one extra step. They just made an update in September. And so if you don't put the update, the shared labs won't work. So after you install it, then you have to go to Pasco's website. And then you go to downloads. And then right here where it says update for Mac Windows, click update, and that's going to update you to the most current version. And once you have that update, you'll be able to do a shared lab. I don't have time to go over how to do a shared lab, but I did make a video how to do it for your students and how to do it on the teacher side. And right here on the stream, if you go to how-to videos, the first one shows your students how to get in. The second one shows the teacher how to get in. And I think the video it's not that long. It's like 2 minutes and 55 seconds. So we try to be intentional about not making these super long videos and you're like, Mike, that's too much information. And so I'm gonna pause and transition it back over to Venicia and Shannon. As mentioned earlier, if you'd like me to come to your classroom and do any of these with you, I'd love to do that. And if you want me to help get your students set up on their Chromebooks, I'd love to help them with that also. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn it over to Roxanne.
I did have one question for Mike. You always showed the data being collected in a graph. Can it collect it in just numbers, numerical, so then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should be able
Yes.
to do that too.
Okay.
So let me put this back up so you all can see that. All right. Pull this up so I can show you. That's a great question.
She get her award. Thank you. She get her award.
All right, so it's going to come up here on the screen on the Canadian board. All right, there we go. All right, so on the app itself, within the app, right here where it says graph, there's a right arrow. So if I click that, it'll show me the actual numbers. So if I wanted to see the numbers, because it does get a little bit cumbersome, students trying to figure out where is that on the graph? Is that 12.2, 12.8? And then there's your table with the pH at a specific time. And then, of course, you can do a screenshot of this, put this in a Google Doc, have a kid send it back in Google Classroom. That's an option.
He said recalibrate.
Oh, thank you.
Alright, I'm going to turn the lights
I
on.
was gonna say.
So just watch your eyes.
It was just a small
Watch your
fluctuation,
eyes.
right?
It was big.
And
Mom.
We
We never ask about mom anymore.
With those numbers where
You know, it's all about the time.
Yeah.
Alright. I think this one's mine. Okay, so we are going to look at 9.2, which is lime water, the reaction. And we've got a couple things that we're gonna look at. We're gonna do a quick little what you actually do in 9.2, and then we also have things set up so you can make your own lime water. So if people brought 2 liters, that is perfect, the bottles. I also have the calcium hydroxide in case if you didn't bring it, we do have some extra. We have electronic balances and things like that. So then we can get you all set up so you can make it, and that way you can be prepared. It suggests 300 milliliters per class. So if you have 6 classes, you're gonna need 2 liters. If you have, you can make double batches, but it's just easier to make a 2-liter amount. This one we just made
About 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, so it hasn't, says to set for several hours, but overnight is better. So this is still setting, and then you will see some of the calcium hydroxide that has settled to the bottom. Then you will need to filter that. So I just use the Foss filter, but that's probably not the quickest way to do it. If you want to filter it and put it in another 2-liter container, or put it into smaller containers, whatever makes sense. So let me just, I've got a couple of these per table, and maybe even more per table. And I can even pull them up. So what you start off with in this one is, you kind of go back to the dissolve, the melt, and all those things that are happening. So you set up a demonstration using sugar. So first you take sugar and then you put it in water, and then you ask them, did it dissolve or what happened? And students should be able to know that it dissolved. And then you put it on a flame. It's just using a candle, so you don't even need a Bunsen burner or anything. And then you can do this as a demo. How many of you use the aluminum spoon in, I think it's 8.2? Okay, so did you have every student make one? No, just a group, okay. And so then this calls for a demo. There's also an online version, because in this one you're burning sugar. So all of you probably know what happens when you burn sugar. What happens? It smells pretty bad, right? I mean, if you melt sugar, it smells pretty good. But once you get beyond that melting, it doesn't smell so good. So some of the things to think about is if you're actually going to do the demo, you might want to let your principal know. You might want to let building maintenance know, because they might think there's a fire, because it does smell badly. It does create a smoke. So if you have any smoke detectors that are relatively close to where you're doing it, you may want to make sure you're far enough away. All right. So I do have aluminum foil cut if you want to make some of these, so you can do this demo. So you would need 1 per class. Or like I said, there is an online version of it. It's not the same, right? You're not going to get the smell, because part of the idea of the chemical reaction is students will understand that by doing this you're getting a chemical reaction, because the burning, which is the combustion, is causing that reaction. When you just melt it, it's not a chemical reaction. Again, just reiterating that for students: dissolve, melt, and then chemical reaction, which is not always intuitive for students. So that's where it begins. Then you have your lime water, and you set this up. So you have your air pump with your flex tube. It's not a complete tight seal, and I can pass this around. These are all included in the kits. And so what you have is you have your lime water, which is just a saturated calcium hydroxide. Students will know what calcium hydroxide is. They actually do the student sheet. So this will be a continuation of 9.1. Instead of using the little stickers though in this time, they're going to use these things. So they'll have those. You ask this is just regular air, so if you don't mind holding that, you're gonna go ahead and you could have, maybe I would hold it and the student would pump it, cause holding it's pretty boring, right? And so you just ask them to gently do 5 pumps, and do you notice anything happening? But we're putting air in there, right? And then, do you notice anything happening? So they don't notice anything happening. Then what students end up doing is, based on the sheet that they just received, they are going to put in here the saturated solution of calcium hydroxide. They do measure 30 milliliters, so this is an opportunity to assess them on being able to measure 30 milliliters. There's graduated cylinders, and then they put this together, and this time though, they blow into it. So one of the things you do is you cut the straws, and you can just cut them in 3s. You leave the paper on it for sanitary reasons, and then now the students are going to, they can touch their own, put it in there, and now they're going to use their own air and blow into it. So when a student blows into it, what are they blowing into this?
CO2.
Carbon dioxide, right? It's gonna be different than what was in here. So who wants to be my person to blow into this?
Sure.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And so then they can start
Steal my
noticing
joy.
if anything is happening.
Right.
They can start observing. Are you noticing anything happening?
It's clouding up.
It's clouding up.
Can we go on?
You can keep going.
Really
Well, here,
encouraged.
how about if we come back to you in about 10 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, keep doing it.
But, so
Charles
now
will be
you can
quiet
talk
for a
about, I think you could be done. I don't want you to pass out. You're gonna let him pass out?
No.
Okay. A couple things to note, though. They are students.
Oh.
They may not want to stop, but notice now. All right, so has a chemical reaction taken place? Why and how do you know that? What's that? Out of breath?
No, hot breath.
Oh, hot breath. Well, we could take the temperature of this, right? Right, and then you should see a precipitate. The other thing is it got cloudy, so you had a change in color. So, but it's the same solution that we had in here. It's just different things that we reacted with it, right? And it is carbon dioxide. That might take them a little bit to think about what they're actually blowing into this carbon dioxide. What's that?
I was wondering, did anybody have any trouble getting the little tube through the
Holes?
stopper?
Well, you can try it. So a suggestion might be, they do show you, and you can have students put these together. There are 2 lengths of plastic pipes that do come in here, but the ones that they ask you to put in there are, wait, just make sure maybe they're, one is 7.5 and the other one is the 10, and I'm pretty certain it was the 7.5 that you used. Is it difficult to put them in the rubber stoppers? It's not bad. Personally, I would probably put these pipes in the rubber stoppers ahead of time, but if you want students to do that, feel free. So, because those are the directions, how to get them. What's that?
So they can't do it like the picture.
That's gonna be, I guess, that's in the actual, that is them in the reading.
Okay.
So then showing them, but so then they do this. Part of this is they're measuring 30 milliliters, that's a key. Again, anytime we can get them to do those measurements. They have a closed, well, it's not closed because you got this and allow it to come in. Less chance of it spilling,
Okay.
Things like that. Again, the only part that took a little bit of time was putting the 2 pipes in there. But once you put them in there, it's not that difficult, but you may wanna just have those set up. There's not gonna be enough for every student on this. That's why you cut the straws in 3. And so then once one person, has done this, you'd have to get another 30 milliliters, so it depends on how often you want each student whether you want each student to try it themselves as a group, or someone blow a couple times in there, take the straw off, another person do a couple other ones, take the straw off, so how many you want to set up. But then what they end up doing is they end up writing the chemical reaction of the two, the lime water, and the carbon dioxide, and they end up writing the chemical equation using the little tiles, thank you, I couldn't think of the name, using the tiles. And so that's gonna be a little challenging for them to see what they would actually get. But one of the things they can talk about is what is the precipitate that is at the bottom? What do you guys think it might be? It is, and they should have seen this already. It's calcium carbonate, which is also known as chalk. So they should have seen this in the, was one of the mystery substances. And that is 9.2. And then they do go into the balancing equations, which just happens to be that that equation is balanced without any coefficients, unfortunately, right? So, any questions on what 9.2 is going to do? Alright, so if you would like to, how many people did bring 2-liter bottles to make the solution?
You said you forgot it. I had everything.
Or we can try to make, you don't have to make 2 liters. How many classes do you have? 6. Alright, so you're gonna want 2 liters. So it needs 3 grams of calcium hydroxide per 1 liter of water. So if you want, we've got the electronic balances here, and then if you didn't bring calcium hydroxide, I do have, you're welcome to use this, so if you want to go ahead and mask that. I do have filter paper for you to do that. The other thing is if you want to make some spoons and get those ahead of time, and make the spoons, we can make sure that you have the spoons ready to go. If you brought the number 3 stoppers and anything else, you can work on getting those done.
Cutting straws.
What's that?
Cutting straws.
Cutting straws. We can cut straws. Go ahead.
I had a question. Do you have a teacher tip on how to clean the tubing?
This tubing or any tubing?
Because I've soaked mine. I've
No.
soaked it in vinegar.
Which tubing?
That tubing you're holding in
But
your hand.
when did you use it? From this?
I had it from last year.
Yeah, it says to use vinegar, so an acid wash. So just to use the vinegar, and even after this, because when you're done with this and you rinse it, you might get see how you get that cloudiness.
That's
So
what I
they
have
call
in
it
my
acid
tubing.
wash, and so it's just using vinegar. Put a little vinegar in there,
But
wash
you
it.
said it
I've
didn't
tried
work?
it.
Like with a dropper, maybe?
It
Drop it in
still
there?
looks
This cloudy, like
in
even
my
the bottom
inside of some of my tubing.
tubing.
Mhm.
So see how it is, this is what you're probably talking about? Yeah, so this, earlier I just rinsed it out and it was fine. So it might be about rinsing quickly, but they do recommend a vinegar and acid wash. So maybe trying that might be helpful. It is listed in there somewhere.
It's not moldy or anything.
Try some.
Then you gotta rinse it out real good.
Cause yeah, it's already turning
Yeah.
the white cloudy from the reaction, and so definitely cleaning that out. Any other?
It's in the kids.
I would just say if anybody's doing it this year, maybe clean it quickly.
Yeah, that's what
Yours
I
did
would
that too.
recommend is clean it right away.
Don't wait.
Right.
Maybe I don't
That
know.
might
You
be
can do
really
it
hard to
after
do it
each group or whatever. Because mine looks. I cannot get it.
It's not moldy or anything.
I don't think it's moldy. I
Okay.
think it's just
Just
like if
yeah.
I had a.
I don't know if
long-
maybe you set it in like those green this green basin that comes.
I'm gonna
Maybe.
use something stronger.
Try the vinegar and see what happens. Maybe just set a little bit in there and let these sit in there. But I would agree that, so when they're done, you want them to just quickly rinse it at the sink.
Don't
Yeah,
wait.
Don't wait, right. So when they're
If you have,
done.
Brandon, don't wait.
Like that. Other than that. Yeah, once you have them in, you don't have to take them out, because they're not for this. Right, so that's why I say, once they're in, with the first class can put them in, you're done. I wouldn't go too strong, because then you're gonna, do something with the plastic. I mean, vinegar isn't strong at all. Just be cautious. Like, what acid are you thinking? Well, you do have some pretty strong hydrochloric acid in there, but I would not recommend it. Because then the other thing is, if for some reason they sucked it up, not that they wouldn't, but,
That's my concern.
One of your kids? Sure is. The top 3 of them.
well, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
you
you
have,
had one.
then you don't let them blow it to
Julian and
it.
Jensen.
You know, I mean,
It's
'cause
not gonna hurt. That's not gonna hurt.
no, it's not.
21, but then there'll be a sink.
Right.
Right.
They're from them. And you got another one.
All right, so if you want to mass out the calcium hydroxide, here's the balance with the filter paper. I do have some lime water already. Oh, one of the things that it does say is once you make it, it will settle like this. So you do need to filter it out. I think I said that, but and it does require it to sit for a while, but it will filter because you don't want it to look this way, or then that's going to be bad, right? Because when you see it in here, it's pretty clear. So you have to filter it. So once you've made it, you've got to filter that out. So that takes a little bit of time to filter it out.
Filter paper?
There is filter paper in there, or you can. So they have filter paper. I just use this because I just went ahead and filtered it out into the small bottles for today. But you're gonna probably want to filter it into a larger bottle, and so you could go
For
ahead.
all my students, for all my classes?
Say that again. Like
For
I'm
all
not-
the students, for all the classes, I need to filter that before
I would
we
filter
start.
the whole bottle and then have the bottle.
2:30.
You don't have to use one of these. You could use something else, but you're gonna need to filter this bottle of lime water. So once you filter it, it's ready to go. But you can't leave it like this. And if you leave it set overnight, it's gonna look
Make it
better,
easier,
right?
yeah.
I've been shaking it up and things like that, so it filtered a lot slower. But once you do that, you filter this. Maybe even have two 2 liters. Once you make one, the other one filtered out, and then it's ready to go. And once it's ready to go, you don't have to filter it again.
Should you let it settle out before you filter it?
I would. And it
Okay.
says to let it settle for a couple hours or
Or
overnight.
overnight.
I would let it settle overnight.
All right.
It'll just make it faster for filtering. This was like an hour and
So
it
if
took a
we
little.
make it today,
Yeah,
we're good to go, we just let it settle.
just let it settle and you're good to go.
Yeah.
That's why I said, we've got the calcium hydroxide here, the electronic balance.
All right, can we do it?
Go,
Yeah.
Can we
start making it.
Okay.
And
Where does
here's
that go?
the filter.
So we need,
You're welcome.
64
Oh, maybe.
bottles.
Six. No, six.
Have a good
Just
break.
6 grams.
Thank you, too.
And
Bye-bye.
so here's that, you know how to tear it, it should be on, I mean, you gotta push it on. I unlocked it, there's that, 6 grams, and then 2 liters, just so you know, it said fill to the top. But I actually accurately measured, and it's about right. So if you put filled water to there, you're close to that. There you go, but I did actually accurately, there are 2 balances if you want to go ahead and. Yeah, so it's just on that, right?
I would do that.
I just used the water from out there,
Vinegar.
on the sink, and then it was ready to go.
Like just
Yeah, and the elephant toothpaste.
I would use that, use a clean filter, because it doesn't all come off. Now, what I used,
Google it, Shonda.
Like in Texas, sprouts
put in
out.
there, I just.
Shonda, YouTube it.
elephant toothpaste.
There's a kit for it, I have it,
It's
It
messy.
stays, it needs a real strong
That means our
Outside.
kids gonna go
It
crazy.
says about
Yep.
300 milliliters per cup.
Okay.
Your
Elephant tooth.
metric conversions were not.
Yeah.
Mine are the last two.
Mine-
I
I-
the last
some
2
of it's
days
gonna
of testing.
sound
The elephant tooth at home at school. We have our
Okay, so question, maybe a question,
Phone
go ahead and
out.
measure out, use the calcium hydroxide.
Or in my container.
Yeah, go do that, cause if you make it now, the better.
I already got my container.
Okay, so come and make it. So yours isn't quite 2 liters?
No, I was joking. That's
Oh, okay, so I was gonna say, be careful, cause you might need to measure less.
It has been gross.
Now, this is with the straw, I think potassium chloride, I don't know what that is, it stains. So I would rather use the vinegar from the beauty salon. I mean, not
Does
vinegar,
anyone
hydrogen
wanna
peroxide,
make,
hydrogen peroxide.
Does anybody wanna make their aluminum foil, spoons?
You didn't mean beauty salon, you mean beauty supply store.
Do you wanna make
No,
aluminum?
get it.
I understood you. That's scary, no, but I did.
I'll go
You were
figure out.
speaking.
That, I was like, and you know what? Anytime I start speaking really, this is a dangerous day.
It'll irritate you.
I was like,
Do you wanna make spoons?
Do that. Where'd she go?
How that just gets off.
I actually put it in a little bit of water and throw it in, but because I was afraid about that.
Yeah.
So do you wanna make
That's
spoons?
like a lot.
I'm actually gonna work on it.
Okay.
I think you like
Oh, yes.
And then if you could.
Doesn't matter when you use this water.
So you just
Doesn't
matter.
matter.
And this is gonna create light. This is gonna go everywhere.
So you guys can share and make another, but you kind of need to make two. Alright, so this one, you can just cut.
You gotta have.
remember?
Yeah, you're right.
It's a Kia.
Stepped out on Monday.
My kids have
We
it.
went to 7-Eleven and I called them.
Cause that keeps getting confusing.
So we're trying to like.
On
You
television.
probably have it on. You didn't have it on. You didn't have it on.
Right.
You didn't have it on.
Remember that time I was pulling it up?
You get to the
Yeah.
kitchen, I'll get to you and I'll figure out if you
You guys wanna do spoons? And so yours doesn't look like it's really big.
I texted him, I was like,
Really wrong. Here in the side, maybe it is, it just looks
He
small.
didn't have his phone.
I don't know, maybe because it has these.
I didn't know. Maybe not, it just, I don't know why it looks smaller, never mind.
Uh-oh.
Never mind.
I
need glass.
That's not an email asking for
So
it.
6 grams of calcium hydroxide.
6 grams.
And then you see where I marked it?
Yeah, no, he,
That's 2 liters.
I
Just
think
to
he
let
just
you
got
know.
it.
Oh,
So it doesn't
okay,
quite
so
go to
don't
the
fill it
top.
all the way to the top.
Sound like the coach.
Okay.
It's kind of, if you eyeball it, I actually measured out exactly.
Okay.
It's
So
not-
about
This
here.
isn't qualitative science,
Okay.
or quantitative science, so. Do you think you wanna do the spoons? Okay, so I will, okay, I'll show you how to make them, and it's pretty simple, but. So these just need to be cut in half, some of them are doing it anyway, so, just about that size. It's not that sophisticated. Yeah, and so all you do is that.
Anything we can do ahead of time, right?
Cut your straw to make it easier to put in your bowl. That makes sense. Okay.
I think that'll go like that. Yeah. Assemble these, and actually the kids will probably, again, I don't know, you just kind of have kids.
Yeah.
You want to like I said, it's not that much.
Yep, group one's always a guinea pig group.
Yeah, so you
Always.
can,
I
my
always
group
thought
one
that
is, I've had to
Us
choose
this
this
year.
year.
Good.
It's always good.
Yeah, the last 2 years, you need to tell the principal, and
They
your
were
smart engineer, whatever they call themselves, because otherwise it could be. Well, considering if you do 1 demo per class, and then you have 6 classes, so there's
Smart.
Yeah.
You're like,
I'm making spoon. Yeah, I was at my first class.
So I don't know if you wanna make a spoon
Yeah.
dollars,
And
and
then
then probably said you were gonna.
I'm gonna do this.
Yep, no, you do that.
By that point, I figured that was
Extra spoon, big spoon.
So I'm like trying to be as trying to be as as I was for.
Yeah, so you pretty much have it, so, these were actually, you know what I did, I kinda folded it in half so that, cause I'm a little thicker, and then I just, you got it
Yeah,
right there.
because it all
and
runs
then-
together too.
It's just, you just kinda fold it,
Especially by the sixth one.
and then fold
say
it,
that
but you're pretty well.
no idea.
Fold it, and you just kinda, that looks beautiful. Looks
$3
beautiful to me, so.
I'm making spoons for 2 liters. How many is that?
3.7,
You wanna make some spoons?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
You do the math.
so.
Good
you have
Lord.
there.
Where
Sounded good, right?
do I get
Right,
it?
so what you do is,
You know
you
middle
just
school, where do I
use these
get that?
in
I was pretty close.
There's a sign-in sheet going around, so make
felt
sure you do sign in,
that was
please.
better,
Yeah,
and
that
then
was
you'll
right.
need 6, yeah, and
Is
so
it
then
both?
you just do this, like that for the handle,
I don't know.
and like that for the handle.
Where did the sign-in sheet
I think it's on
go?
that table.
Yep, bright yellow.
Yeah.
Bend it,
Oh, can't miss it.
bend it,
Nope.
bend it, bend it, just kind of
Alright,
bend
so
it,
hold on.
till you get it to where you
Yeah.
feel
I
like.
need to borrow her beaker.
a little bit of a spoon. There's a beaker up here or a graduated cylinder, so you need 6 of them, and then there's more aluminum foil, I'm gonna clean this out and see what happens,
So which one?
but,
I'm going to.
I have to look at it. I can't
Shonda, it may have been the length of time that,
The demonstration.
it may have been the length of time that
You
you.
think so?
That's all I can think of, but I'm gonna see what happens.
Here it is.
So
Thank
if you
you.
notice now, you're gonna have that.
really want to stink up the
Alright,
plaster.
so-
And
Same.
and that's the chalk.
Richardson.
Might
So I
smell
can-
worse than your coworkers
It's
burnt
Ray's,
popcorn,
Ray's,
right?
I'm sure it smells
Frozen
better
Foods,
than the 3 and 4.
34.
Some days,
Sorry.
six,
How do I find out which
six
one?
total for each. You got a little bit more.
I can tell you.
Sorry,
which
you,
one.
I was just looking at your,
I have the
so
thing that-
the
The
burning
reason I'm
sugar
trying to
demo?
push you to do this is because I need to be able to make sure everything edit. I need to look at 2 years of data to get it in.
She
I
said
gotta do
no.
biology too.
I can't do it.
Where did you borrow from?
She did it.
Okay.
Something else I always have.
I think I might try it.
It's fun.
As a demo.
Yeah, it's fun. Don't have them do it, but it's fun. Ladies and gentlemen. Hi. As you are finishing up, please feel free to leave.
Oh, I've got one.
We're not
down.
holding
They're
you.
pretty easy. I'm gonna-
But please feel that to stay until 4:30 if you are working. However, I did want to let you guys know that the midterm is only chemistry and a little bit of scientific investigation. There is nothing physics-ish on it. There's particle theory, so the kinetic energy when it has to deal with the particle level, like we did in chemical interaction, but not as in a roller coaster going down a hill. It will be available to view, hopefully before you guys leave for break.
All right, but all the heat transfer is on there,
Yeah.
right? Induction, convection, radiation.
Everything that was
all
covered
Yeah,
in the
okay.
kit.
Yeah, yeah.
Particle level.
Yeah, the particle, yeah.
We just have to get used to thinking about heat transfer being in the
Chemistry.
chemistry section. It totally makes sense to put it in there.
hmm Yeah, I think because at the particle level, how things are moving,
Yeah.
and because of heat, it's because of heat.
When is it?
End of that's set by your school.
I know,
It's
I
end
know
of
what
June.
mine is.
It's end of January.
Ours are set for the 19th and the 22nd. It's a Friday and a Monday.
So that's we there's a window and schools set those
Yeah.
dates.
So I think mine is about a week before we have our PD day and the kids have off.
So it's open up until it's open the whole time.
That's what I'm thinking.
I doubt it will.
It's up to the schools.
Right, but it's just,
So we hope everyone has a good break
much
too.
mixing?
When
it
is our
says to
next
shake
one
it
after
for a good
break?
minute.
The 3rd,
Okay.
It's a very long time to
January
shake.
3rd, it's a Wednesday.
And so I just did like this, turned it
Are we
upside
gonna
down like
have
that.
them now on
I
Wednesdays?
actually shook
No.
it several times.
Just we didn't think it'd be nice to do it on
You're
Tuesday,
gonna
the first day
get,
back.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
stuff at the bottom.
Yeah, cause
And
it's,
that's
it's
okay.
not all that dissolving.
So it's not
I'm sorry, say it again, it's on
Really?
when?
January 3rd, the Wednesday, because the 2nd is a Tuesday, and that wouldn't be very.
So I get in from
But yeah, now
Scotland
you
on the
got it,
first,
and then like I
and
said,
I'm working on the
one
second.
less day that you have to.
We'll have fun in Scotland.
I'm really excited, but I'm gonna be so jet lagged. Dr. Richardson was saying since we're doing science fair projects, that she would like us to show October sky. And so I was like, perfect, I'll do the second and third when I'm jet lagged, and then I'll dive back in after that.
She always showed that whenever I worked with her at Phoenix.
Yeah, it's a good one. My mom used to show it all the time. My mom taught science, 6th grade.
Oh, nice.
You still need to measure,
I got it, I can do